Hello and thank you for joining us. My guests today are Koube Ngaaje, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the District Alliance for Safe Housing. Also, Craig Small, Senior Vice President and C&I Relationship Manager at EagleBank. Thank you both for joining me today. Your organization does such important work. I want to start by just hearing you talk about the work that you do.
Absolutely, and thank you again for having me. Thank you, Craig. So the District Alliance for Safe Housing, DASH, we are the largest safe housing provider and service provider for survivors of domestic and sexual violence. DASH was founded in 2006, and we provide a unique continuum of emergency to transitional and transitional to permanent housing supports and housing for survivors of domestic and sexual violence in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Of
course, that important work takes money. I guess that's partly where EagleBank comes in. You have the entire front-facing part of your operation where you do all your great work, and then you do have the funding part of the operation. Can you explain that to us and explain to us where banking fits in?
Absolutely. So one of the key things I always tell folks is, as much as the nonprofit is in the business of doing good work, we also are a business. And a key part of our relationship, which we started with EagleBank in 2012, was making sure that we had core businesses, business partnerships on the banking field. So EagleBank supports us with our mortgage. They also support us with a line of credit. And really making sure that we're looking holistically at the organization and what it takes to really run the organization. EagleBank has also partnered with us in helping facilitate some public and private grant applications and loans that make our work possible.
Could you tell me more about 2012 and how you two met and I assume hit it off in terms of a business relationship?
Sure. So I actually joined DASH in 2017, so a lot of the relationship predated me. But in 2012, when EagleBank and DASH formally took on the relationship, it actually started, the negotiation process started long before that. But the impetus was to bring online a mortgage for our building. It's called Cornerstone, and Cornerstone is the largest building for survivors in the region. It's a 42-unit apartment building. And so we partnered with EagleBank to be able to get a very competitive rate for our mortgage and also to bring on EagleBank as our primary banker for the organization.
Craig, when you were approached, what is it like dealing with a nonprofit versus dealing with a company, an individual? How do you assess a nonprofit? How do you make a decision to loan the money, et cetera?
Well, it helps to have nonprofit experience because that sector is different, intrinsically different in the fact that even though it has business-like aspects, it is not about making money per se. So the risk profile is a little different and the financial statements look different. And we had to do a little bit of a deep dive to really understand what was going on with DASH and to see about the leadership and the goals and the orientation and the mission. And we were able to get comfortable with that.
Interesting. So is this something that you had a lot of experience in before and you drew on that experience, or was there something that you learned along the way here?
Well, this was a predecessor of mine at the bank that actually brought on the relationship. But broadly speaking, throughout the bank, we have people that have nonprofit expertise, have worked in nonprofits, served on boards such as myself, and have a real familiarity with what's going on with them. And we really enjoy, and I really enjoy, supporting the mission. That is what makes it special. And to feel part of that is really wonderful. And to work with Koube and her leadership and see all the things that are happening and the growth that's taken place and the way they serve their target population is really wonderful.
Yeah, the thing that I've taken away after doing a couple of these is from the people in your seat, how much you've learned or do know or have learned about the client, regardless of what the client does. It seems like you have to be there lockstep with them in terms of their business model.
I think that's right. The business model can evolve, and it has, I think, with DASH. Certainly they've expanded their offerings and they've really brought up their, well, even just the housing has really been renovated and made to be very accommodating to the residents. And so it's important to stay in touch and to listen and find out what's going on and be responsive to that.
Koube, tell me some of the improvements or things that have gotten better as a result of this partnership.
Absolutely. So I think, to Craig's point about understanding the business model or understanding the value proposition that we bring to the table, it's important to take a little bit of a look back. So when Dash started partnering with EagleBank, and we were founded in 2006, we started partnering with EagleBank in 2012. When we opened our first housing program, there were less than 50 beds available for survivors of domestic and sexual violence in the nation's capital of the United States. And there was a dire need for critical emergency housing, but also safe housing options for survivors. One thing that people don't understand is that 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence in their lifetime, 1 in 7 men. So I'm sitting here with 2 wonderful males, and if I'm in a room with more than 7 men, chances are one of them will be a survivor of domestic and sexual violence. Or if I'm in a room with several women, chances are 1 in 4 of them will be a survivor of domestic violence. And also understanding that domestic violence is one of the leading causes of homelessness. And so when we partnered with EagleBank to launch and purchase Cornerstone, at the time it was about a $10 million purchase, which is a significant undertaking for the organization. And we wanted to be able to protect that resource for survivors, not only in DC, but certainly in the region. And since that time, since 2012, when we purchased Cornerstone, we've since expanded our overall housing portfolio and service availability for survivors in the region. And so in addition to Cornerstone, where we can house survivors for up to 2 years at no cost to them, we also have scattered site housing, where we partner with local landlords in the region to be able to house survivors. And we cover their rents and utilities and wraparound supports for up to 2 years as well. And we also provide flexible financial assistance to survivors to make sure that we're removing the typical financial barriers that are threatening their ability to remain safely and stably housed. And so over the years, through our partnerships, not just with EagleBank, but throughout on the public and private sector, we've expanded our programming. When I joined the organization, actually take it a little bit back, when we started with EagleBank in 2012, we had about a $2.5 million budget. When I came into the organization in 2017, we were about 3.1. This year in 24, we have a budget that's slightly over $10 million. And so the expansion of the programs, the expansion of the business has meant that we've had to work lockstep with EagleBank as our primary banker to make sure that the organization has the capital it needs to deliver those services. And one of the things that I appreciate about EagleBank's first, business first and first.
Relationships first. That's our motto. Koube's got it exactly right.
Thank you. The relationship first model that EagleBank has, it really is synonymous with Dash's values of putting partnerships first. And so for us to be successful in the delivery of our model and in the delivery of our services, I think the first time I met Craig, I said, I don't do business unless I can shake your hand, see you in the face, and make sure that we have an understanding of what EagleBank needs, what Dash needs. And Dash's services are very individual based. And so they are unique to the person. And so what you would need is different from what Craig would need. And so because we focus on the individual and meeting survivors where they are, all of our relationships, including our banking relationships, we ask that EagleBank meets us where we are and that we co-collaborate to design a business model that works for Dash. And so the growth over 2012 to 2017 and subsequently to where we are today in 2024 has meant that EagleBank has had to learn our business and we've had to learn what they need so that we can make sure that at the end of the day, behind every budget, behind every number is a person. It's the survivors we're serving. It is the community members that we're tasked with delivering services to. It's our funders. It's our business relationships, and that everybody is taken care of every step of the way.
Yeah, Koube has my cell phone number, and she knows how to use it.
That's good. Koube's talking about several millions of dollars here.
Right.
Is that to me sounds like a significant amount of money in the local banking world? Is that a significant amount?
It is a significant amount because of what it accomplishes. I think that's the way I look at it. We have large clients, smaller clients. EagleBank covers the waterfront, but our specialty is working with local, homegrown businesses and nonprofits like Dash, and finding a way to support them and help them grow. And so It is a substantial amount of money, but we're well accustomed to dealing with it and to advising about it.
So Koube, how do you pay him back? How does this work?
How does this work? So, I mean, our business model at Dash, we work, our funding model, if you will, about 75% of our funds come from the public sector. So we work very closely with the government. We work very closely with DC government, who's our largest funder. We also have several federal grants that support our work. And the remaining portion, about 20 to 25%, depending on the year, comes from the private sector. And so that's, what people traditionally hear of or know about with nonprofits and fundraising. So that's individuals, it's corporations, it's foundations. And we work with EagleBank to make sure we've got a very clear agreements that tie to our mortgage, that tie to our line of credit, and that allow us, we have multiple accounts with EagleBank that allow us to be able to be flexible. I always say in our line of work that because of the flexibility that survivors need from us as an organization, it also requires that we have very strong internal controls as an organization. And so we're clear in our partnership with EagleBank. They know, what it takes for us to deliver our services and make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and so do we. And ultimately, every year through our funding model, through our private grants, through our public grants, we are able to make sure that any monies owed to EagleBank in alignment with the agreements that we have in place are taken care of.
How important is that flexibility that we were just hearing about?
Well, I think it is very important. Relationships first is our motto, and the F in first stands for flexible. And we are flexible in that we will work to accommodate whatever the needs are that Dash has as they evolve. And that involves staying in touch, listening, and being responsive. And it helps that we are so local. We have our business orientation is within the DMV. We understand the people and the organizations in the DMV because we ourselves live here, raised family here, serve on boards here, volunteer here. And I think that lets us be really more understanding than if we were farther away. And also the decision making gets made locally. I can walk upstairs and see the president of the bank if I need to. Don't have to go to Pittsburgh or reach out to Charlotte or any of those things. So being flexible is key, and it allows us to, I think, help you get your work done. And we appreciate that dialogue that we have and the ongoing communication.
Yeah, when you're looking at revenue projections, fundraising projections, grants, all the sort of things that help you stay afloat, is that more difficult to do with a nonprofit because there might be more uncertainty, or is it similar to doing another kind of loan, or is it its own unique thing?
It is a little different. There is sometimes more uncertainty because of the funding sources not being as predictable. The good news is that we are used to dealing with a lot of those funders at the governmental level in particular. I used to work in the DC government, so have that understanding. And it is also a matter of taking that into account when we put together the terms and conditions for loans and lines of credit and other things that we provide, is to make sure that they take that into account in the covenants and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Koube, what sort of great things would you do with future funding? It's going to be a long list.
Well, I think there's tons of challenges and opportunities in the work that we do, and Craig has alluded to some of them a little bit with the fund, the majority of funds that Dash receives are one-year funds. And so that means every year at the beginning of the fiscal year, and we run October 1 through September, which is synonymous with the federal cycle, it means we start from zero. And so we are constantly working to make sure that not only is the organization getting the resources it needs, but that we are also bringing in additional general operating funds. So, this year in 2024 and certainly in 25, we're in a sustainability and stability period of growing. Like, we've grown tremendously over the last 6 years. And so, what could we do with additional funds? One, it would help us maintain the baseline. And so I'm clear and the organization is clear, particularly because we are primarily Black-led and also primarily Black and Brown serving. In the nonprofit sector, one of the truths about the work that we do is that organizations that are Black and Brown led tend to be funded at lower levels and also with higher restrictions. And so Craig and I have had many a conversation that is transparent about what it means to be in true partnership with an organization like ours that looks like ours, and the funds and how we leverage resources, how we build capital. So, looking forward to 24 and 25, potentially 26, new funding that would come into the organization would be leveraged to continue to do the work that we are doing, to build out the sustainability of our programs and our services. We are this close to paying off our mortgage on Cornerstone, which is a pretty significant deal for the organization. And so we are excited because that would mean that Cornerstone, which again is the largest building for survivors, will be a permanent home for survivors in the district. And let's see, what else would we do with money? If you know of anybody who's willing to write a $10 million or $20 million endowment fund, Craig has my number, please send them my way. But it would also be leveraged to take care of the infrastructure, because one of the things that we are also clear on is this is really hard and hard work. And in order to do it, we never want to have to sacrifice the people who are doing the work. So a deep investment in our staffing, in the organization's infrastructure, and also in making sure that the community, the physical building, or the additional scattered site programs that we have are holistically taken care of.
Well, while you're here, tell us how people can help you. It may not be $10 or $20 million, but I'm sure there are people who are watching or listening who might be able to help. So what's the first step?
First step, well, one, if you would love to, anyone who would like to learn more about the organization, please don't hesitate to reach out. Our website is dashdc.org, and folks can continue to support the life-saving work that DASH does. Always there's volunteer opportunities, there's ways in which you can learn more about the organization, and of course funding. We would love to welcome new donors to our organization or current donors to grow their giving capacity. And that information is always available on our website. And so we welcome people to learn more about the organization, to become an ambassador for the organization, and also to donate and support the organization financially.
Well, I've learned a bunch, so thank you both very much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Thanks, Koube.
Thanks, John.
Koube Ngaaje, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the District Alliance for Safe Housing, joining me, as well as Craig Small, Senior Vice President and CNI Relationship Manager at EagleBank. I am your moderator, John Aaron. For more on this discussion, visit WTOP.com and search Small Business September.